Osio, Tuyukodai, Ayasti, Kanayegi, Taguatoa. Welcome to the Red Road East. I am your host, Feerce Truth-Seeker. The Red Road East is an indigenous TV program dedicated to archiving and preserving the history, legacy, and culture of the indigenous peoples of the Americas east of the Mississippi River and the Caribbean. So, yeah, we're here today on a Sacred Sun Day, and I have two guests for you waiting in the background who are no strangers to the Red Road East show. Okay. And we are today discussing the topic of the misappropriation of the term American Indian, which is a people and not an ideology. Okay. We'll also be talking about some current affairs as well. Okay. And without further ado, I'm going to bring in my guests. 1 second. I have Clan Mother Firebird Graywolf, guest and also co-host. Hey, Firebird, yo.
OCO, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, great. Because on my end, you're a little low.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, my it's probably coming out that way on your computer, but on the screen it's the audio is what it usually is. Um Let me do a test. Hold on. Let's see 1 second here. The audio is what it usually. Yeah, the audio is fine on my end.
Okay. I hear you a
Uh,
little better now.
okay, and I'm gonna also bring in Strong Bear Woman. Strong Bear. OCO Strong Bear. Your mic is muted. Strong Bear. Strong Bear. She must have walked away. But anyway, we'll I guess when she comes back, she'll come in. I don't know. She probably walked away. But anyway, yeah. So yes,
Is she
today
there?
she is on the screen, but I don't know what happened. She might have walked away from the computer.
Yeah,
Uh,
hey
oh,
guys.
there she is. Okay.
Yeah, I was just trying to get me some iced tea.
Oh, okay. No problem. Yeah.
Happy Sunday.
Likewise, likewise. So yes, so for let's see how many people we have watching. There's 4 people. I guess that's including us three. I don't know if it is. But anyway, we're gonna start the show. And today we're talking about the misappropriation of the term American Indian. So there is some confusion on the part of some people in the um, Afrocentric community and also in the among those who have come into the new paradigm of people who subscribe to the Aboriginal movement um, or offshoots of the offshoots of the Aboriginal movement. And the term American Indian has been equated with an ideology. And I just wanted to clarify the terms, um, because I've heard it thrown out there, not only among that community, but also in the Afrocentric, um, what they call the conscious community as well. Um, and they feel that American Indian is an ideology, but American Indian is not an ideology. American Indian is a people. Okay. Now, if some group takes it upon themselves to make it an ideology, that's on them. But that's not what it is in reality. In reality, American Indian is a people. Okay. You have those who have taken aspects of the Moorish paradigm, and they have called it the Aboriginal movement. And they have expanded that Aboriginal movement to now become separated from the Aboriginal movement. Now you have a sub movement under that called American Indian, and it's being tossed around as an ideology, but it's not. Okay, I'm clearing that confusion up because there are people who are outside of those communities looking in, and they're thinking when somebody says they're American Indian that they're saying that they subscribe to an ideology. You see, so, but that is not the case. Okay.
Well, Rick James said cocaine was a powerful thing. Well, the human mind is a powerful thing. You can make up and change things to suit yourself and make a whole new history. It's amazing. It's amazing. And seeing it so much now on the internet and books and videos and uh, all the false ideologies that's been going on. The mind is a powerful thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very sad. So much history is being rewritten, switched, edited, paper genocided. You can't talk about the colonial people because melanated people are doing it as well, or even more so.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in my mind, it both stems from wanting money and power,
Mm.
and whatever you can do to get it, you'll do it. If that
Mm.
means changing and editing history, making up sensational videos, well, so be it. That's what you're going to do. And there's
Mm-hmm.
always, P.T. Barnum said, suckers born every day,
Oh yeah.
and many people are willing to be suckers because they want to believe the hype because it suits an agenda or a doubt in their mind and their spirit that they're going through.
Exactly.
So uh, I I just I can't believe it. As an elder, I can't believe how much history is being changed. I mean, from Harriet Tubman and Nat Turner and all these people are being written out of history, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and they have families, you know.
True.
The African slave trade is being written out. Nobody wants to claim Africa anymore, not at all.
Exactly.
You know, we went from dashikis and black and I'm proud to not that ain't me, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not speaking of the whole population being from Africa. I'm speaking of the history that came here, that was put here. How can you dishonor a group of people to suit yourself because now you feel ashamed, or now you can claim some land, or I don't I won't be picked on anymore if people tell me to go back to Africa. And so you just denounced the whole history of the transatlantic slave trade. It's just amazing.
Mm.
I mean, I did the opening prayers ceremony for the Lenape people, and we honored the Africans that were buried there, that were proven to be there, that were proven to be been brought over here to America.
At the African
Now,
burial ground. Yeah.
you know, there's no such thing as Africa Town, and a lot of these things, it's just a figment of the imagination. And uh, American Indians, that's just a terminology for whatever. It just adds up. It's just amazing, you know. And it's dishonoring to people and their struggles, and being made slaves and separated from families. It's just amazing, and discounting every more. Every more is not what you call a dirty more,
Exactly.
but you want to dishonor that history as well, instead of some of us out there being proud of the accomplishments of the Moors and uh, blacks in Europe, and being leaders in power. Now, no one wants to, the new generation doesn't want anything to do with that history. I mean, I guess the colonials are sitting back and laughing at all of
Mhm.
us, you
Exactly.
know, laughing at everything, saying, well, George, we don't have to worry no more. Oh, we don't have to do it. They're doing it for us.
Yeah, they're doing it for us. Yeah,
Yeah,
here on Billy Bob.
they're going to destroy their own selves and their own history. And Florida's right for pushing out black studies because they don't even accept themselves anymore. So it's just disheartening. But
Yeah.
I thank you and Strong Bear Woman, Feerce Truth-Seeker, for having the show today to talk about these important subjects, because some of us uh, some of us appreciate history.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the thing is that we have to be balanced in our thinking, you know. You can't go to any type of extremes, and we're not bringing this topic up to throw shade on anyone. You know, we just want to clarify some terminology for the sake of clarity, because when it gets thrown out there, just like a free for all, then we all get lumped in the same category, you know, and we have to make those distinctions, for those of us who do walk the red road and who know our lineage. We know those connections and things of that nature. We practice the culture. you know we don't want people to get the wrong idea. and think that this is just some fad or a trend. It's not a fad, it's not a trend. A lot of people, I see a lot of people who subscribed to that particular ideology that we're talking about, whether it be Aboriginal or whether it be um, those who have broken off from the Aboriginal and extended the Aboriginal to mean something else now. Um, a lot of them are going into Afrocentricity, being Pan Africanists and this, that, and the other. So, when you say American, it can't be a trend. It's like you can't just choose, oh, today I'm going to be American Indian. Oh, well, I don't subscribe to that Aboriginal American Indian ideology anymore. I'm a Pan Africanist now. You can't choose whether or not you want to be American Indian, because it's a bloodline. So, that's why, we're doing the video to clarify that this, what, at least what we do is not a fad or a trend. This is, we live, eat, sleep, drink, and think this 24 hours, 7 days a week. Okay. That's the difference. Strong Bear, did you want to weigh in on that a little bit? Oh, and if anyone, for anyone who wants to join in on the chat, you can leave your email in the chat, and you can join the panel and join the discussion. We'll send
Well,
you the link.
I think Native American is also a way of life that encompasses spirituality, your history, knowledge of self. And I find a lot of us that are coming into this life, especially those that were not raised as being Native Americans, we're reaching, we're trying to find our ancestors, we're looking for an identity. And a lot of us just don't know protocol.
Mm.
That's the correct word.
We
Protocol.
don't know protocol. We come from an oral tradition. So in order for this to continue, the elders have to teach, and we have to also in turn, be willing to listen. And I find a lot of us is, we don't, our morals are not where they should be. That's a big problem in our community. We have a moral issue. We're disrespectful. We don't know protocol when you go to powwows. You don't know protocols when you're addressing those that are older than you.
Right.
Powwow is really not a teaching ground. For you go and you hear the music and you dance. All that has to be taught. If you were not raised in the culture, and that needs to be taught.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people just don't know or don't want to know.
Exactly.
A lot of it probably don't want to know.
Yeah. A lot of them don't want. I've had a lot of the younger generation people, tell me they don't want to know. They say that it is. They say that it's not our culture. Meaning, they say our culture, meaning highly melanated people. They say it's not our culture, and if that be the case, then that's not what I see when I go on reservations out on the East Coast. I see a whole lot of melanated people, highly melanated people practicing the culture.
Yeah, but like I said, it's one thing to put on feathers and a regalia, but it's another thing to really live this thing. Two different
Exactly.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Many times you can tell a person that hasn't been raised by or in the culture by their behavior. They could be in it a long time, but you still almost can pick those people out because they revert back to the non indigenous ways that they lived before. And they, a lot of them are teaching the history, but the attitude is terrible. And they can't distinguish how to behave in the circle or when they interact with indigenous people that are in the circle. Something always basically gives them away by an attitude or uh, a philosophy they have, and it's very sad. And you can't tell them anything because they feel that they're reading a lot of books and been doing it for a few years, and that gives them. I hate Maya Angelou used the word a license.
Mm.
Yes.
They feel they have the license to be rude or inconsiderate or hostile because I'm in it now. I'm teaching. I have a degree or whatever, and it's wrong. It's wrong. It's very wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And as Woman said, they don't respect elders. They don't want to learn, as you both said. They feel anything goes and no repercussions.
And
But
everything.
there's
Exactly.
there's always some type of repercussion.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Oh
So
yeah.
I encounter those people. I give them a chance, but Firebird will go the other way because some people, like you both said, they don't want to know. They want it to be where it is at what they're doing, what their minds tell them that it's correct, and it's not correct. I couldn't dare as a child disrespect anyone, an elder or anyone, without being reprimanded because my grandparents, they didn't play that stuff. You couldn't do that. You didn't have to be at a powwow or a social. Just your neighbors, you had to be respectful. You had to ask questions. You had to sit and listen. You couldn't just do anything you wanted to do. You had to treat people with kindness.
Oh yeah. That's
But
how it was when I was growing up too.
right,
As well.
it,
I mean, most especially those all of us that come from the South. Same thing. I had to be respectful. You couldn't call older people by their. You weren't supposed to call older people by their first name.
Exactly.
Everybody was Mister, Daddy, Uncle, Big Daddy, Big Mama. So everyone had a title. You don't find that with folks unless they were raised by maybe their grandparents. I see little kids calling, grown people by their first name. That was a big no-no. That was a big no-no.
Exactly.
But the morals have gone down a great deal. It's indicative of the times that we live in.
it's very
Uh,
bad.
yes, very
Um,
anything goes.
to
Like
hear someone say that I
you
don't,
know,
you're an elder, I don't have to respect you. If that elder is acting in a manner of respect, yes, you're supposed to respect them. It's
and
very
I'm,
true that
I'm
every elder is not an elder. There's some people that are just older. But if that
right.
if that elder is acting in the manner of leadership and carrying themselves with respect towards you, and you come out your mouth and say, I don't have to respect you, that tells a lot about your upbringing. You know, would you want someone to say that to your grandparent or your mom or your dad? No, you wouldn't like that. But you feel that you're out here, you're big time, you're teaching or you're doing this and you got organizations or you got a class going or you're the best dancer in the powwow or whatever, and that gives you the clout to disrespect people. I couldn't disrespect children as well. That was a no-no, but especially not adults and elders.
That's
You
right.
know, this generation, I look at a lot of the stuff going on in the internet now. It's like almost like a clique or a gang,
Mm,
and they don't want to be out in the street fighting people, but we're gonna get on the internet and we're gonna stir up nonsense here this way. I can get a charge or a thrill out of that. You know,
mm,
all kind of psychological things going up in the mix,
mm-hmm.
and it's very sad. You know,
Yeah.
so you can't change them if they don't want to change or learn, but you can avoid them. I hear people, yeah, and this, and check out this video and what they say. Yeah, oh yeah, that's right, man. Yeah, right. And wait till we get our land. But do you have the proof to get your land? Do you know anything about Indian law, or do you want to learn? You can't just go and get
Mm,
land because you say you're Indian. Those colonial people are going to make you prove that you're indigenous. Even if you are, you know you
say it
are,
again, Firebird. Say it again.
even if they will not let you get land. It's not that easy because you're producing all of these videos, all these shows, making big money off of people selling inaccurate books, falsities, and whatever. It does not work like that. They barely want us to have anything, and we're in the circle, we're in tribes. So, what makes you think you're going to just easily get land? You know, Indian, per se, Indian land, all of this is our land, but they make it so hard for the people that are even federally and state recognized. What makes you think because you got a show and you're teaching all this history, right or wrong, or you got it from a YouTube video, that they're going to give you land? It's not going to happen like that. It's not going to happen
Mm,
like that. So a lot of these shows are just windbags of shows, you know. And
exactly.
the reason why I'm upset is because it's dividing the country more and more. And I always say, if there's another Trail of Tears happening, they're not going to care who's federally, state, or historically recognized or what. If they suspect that you're Indian and they want to get rid of you, send you to Mars or the moon or whatever, they're going to line up everybody like they did our ancestors.
Exactly.
So it's just terrible. I walk away watching these shows and I'm dumbfounded.
Mm,
You know, I'm like the blind leading the blind, making money, having debates, $50,000 debates, $50,000 debates, when you
woo.
could donate that to a tribe or that's really suffering or something, you're going to have a debate on Indian history, and you're not even a practicing person.
Mm.
You know,
Wow.
you're on the outside looking in and making money off of people. Somebody's funding you. Somebody's funding you to have these debates and discussions and panels and forums and discussions and symposiums and whatever.
Mm.
But you actually have the money to debate a person that's not even in the culture, and
Mm.
that's good and fine for you, just so you can have an audience,
Mm.
just
Mm.
so
Mm.
you can stir up the pot, and that's all it's going to do. At the end of the day, you're not going to get anywhere with land unless, well, you could take that 50,000 and buy some land, you know, and then you can make your own little reserve, little reservation, a township, or whatever, but it's not going to stand up in court so easily. They're
Mm-hmm.
going to look at you like you're
That's a,
crazy, and judge is going to say, next, next.
it's true. It's true. A lot of people don't want to hear
And you're
that,
going to
but it's
look
true.
at your lawyer, and your lawyer going to say, I told you so, but I took your money.
Mm. Yeah. Shoot, $50,000. That's a lot of bread, man.
$50,000.
Give
Hey,
me that
guys, you can
$50,000.
come and help the parade. We'll
I'll
take
beat up.
you. Yeah, they can come and help the parade where we're showing all kind of indigenous people, tribal people, people looking for their ancestors, uh, breaking bread with each other. You can give a donation. I would greatly appreciate it. And then you can
Exactly.
join. You
Exactly.
can, but none of that hate stuff would be allowed, or division. You can vent. You have a right to say that you're indigenous, but not make other people feel uncomfortable and inadequate.
Shoot, $50,000. I'll beat up.
Fifty thousand
I,
dollars. Lay it
I'll
on the
beat up.
table now.
I'll beat up Jabari Osaze.
Lay it on the
Oh
table
God.
now. We could do a lot with 50,000. You
Bring him
know,
on. Bring him
all
on. Come
kind of
on. Come on,
programs. We
Jabari.
could
I
set
got
up
you.
scholarships. We could set up scholarships and donations for underprivileged kids that maybe want to do Native American science, or math or filmmaking or become a lawyer. We could set up, you know,
And I ain't running.
scholarships for them.
Bring it on.
Bring
Bring
it
it on.
on.
I ain't running. I'm
You
running to
know,
you with the scholarship.
okay, because you know what it
50,000.
sounds like to me, like it's a boxing match. You know,
The WW.
yeah, you got 50,000 on
WWF.
so and
Yeah.
so Floyd, what's his name?
Mayweather.
Yes,
Oh man.
and we're gonna and it's cable TV. It's gonna be on cable TV. We gotta buy our seat. Bring on the popcorn and the soda and the candy, and let's get this debate on. Okay, a waste of money.
Yeah, it turns to 3D. It's a three-ring circus.
It's a three
Mm.
It's a
ring.
three-ring circus.
Can a circus be bigger than 3 ring? Well, it's that.
Yeah, it's like Barnum and Barnum and
Barnum
Bailey.
and Bailey. Barnum and Bailey.
It's a
You
three-ring circus.
know, or
Mm.
WWE SmackDown.
Smackdown.
WWE SmackDown.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
Oh man.
You
Mm.
know,
This one going to beat that one, and it's all been decided from the beginning. It's all hype.
it's
But
all
what are
hype.
you learning? What are you getting out of all of this debating? What are you learning?
How to waste your time, how to make 1,000 videos a day over the same nonsense
There's so many
and
people
not getting anywhere.
there are so many people out here that are suffering. I
That is
mean,
suffering.
I mean, not only the indigenous people suffering, a lot of other people suffering as well. And it's just a shame. Thank God I'm able to buy food. There's a lot of people out here that stand in a soup kitchen. People that are working, not
Right.
people that are on welfare. People that are working, that are going to the pantry every week. I know some people. I've heard of people that's in where I work, in my union, that is going to the food pantry.
Oh, I know
Yeah.
somewhere I work too.
Yeah, they're going to the food pantry because they can't
I'm
make.
about to go myself.
I've
I
been
hear
before.
that.
Okay, because there's 5 people in my family, and kids eat a lot.
Yes, ma'am, they do.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to the food pantry myself.
There's nothing
When I
wrong
was
with
having
it,
problems,
but
I've been there.
we could be having some urban rooftop farms. That 50,000 could go help, get the seeds and the boxes to put on some rooftops in New York City. Some more. There are some now, but more so. We could donate to some local tribes, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but you're spending $50,000 on a debate of half the information is not even correct.
Mm.
But you're
Mm.
willing, you got the money to do that,
But that's fine.
you
And well,
know?
I can see if it was a positive, if it was positive and you get a chance to learn, but all you're doing is arguing back and forth, and who could talk the best gets wins the debate. It's really a contest, it's competition. That's all it is. I mean, a lot of people like that sort of thing. They like
Mm-hmm.
that
Confusion.
competitionness. I
Yeah.
don't watch it myself. I don't like a lot of
Yeah. I
arguing.
mean, I I've watched them. Um, it's all coming out of like the hip hop rap battle scene.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never forget somebody said the music, that's not our music. Our music is boom bap. Ooh.
Oh man.
Oh, and I looked on the internet and there was a boom bap magazine. I said, that's all, brother.
Oh man. But
And,
yeah,
and,
that's
and, and, and what's that Siberian?
all the Mongolian
The
folds.
Mongolian.
Oh
But see,
man,
that's
that
all
was
the young people grew up on. And when
yeah.
the music is very important. We're musical people, period. And music
Hmm.
is very important. Music can excite and it can calm down. And in the
Yeah.
beginning, rap music was much more. It was about having fun, even if it didn't have like a message, like uh, something. Even if it wasn't heavy, or dealing with current events or dealing with what was going on. It was more like just partying and having a good time. But now it's really negative. It's very negative towards women. And very low vibration.
Hmm.
Vibration. I see these young boys out here in the morning and they listen, they hollering and cussing and listening to all this kind of mess. This is not good. This is not upliftment for your spirit. It's not
Not
a
at
movement,
all.
and it also depends on the keys. What that's more so like Mars type of music, like anger. Not saying there isn't a
Hmm.
place for anger. Don't get me wrong. It's a place for everything. But
Yeah.
I mean, too much of like Fear said, there's no balance.
It's no
Hmm.
balance.
There's no balance. Even the Bible tells you the time to cry, a time for war, a time for sleep, a time for this. In the book of Ecclesiastes. You know what I'm talking about, Fierce. You know that scripture.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
And but it's no balance. calling women hoes and all the kind of names.
Exactly.
But you came out of a woman's portal. There's no
I mean,
respect.
you can't
Exactly.
even have a conversation with many people, younger people these days, because they're very defensive. You know, I mean, they might not necessarily be youth,
Yeah.
but they're
Very
younger
defensive,
than
very
me. You know
sensitive.
what I'm saying? And combative and mad and angry, and they think everybody's against them, so you got to be too. And anything you say is suspect. And oh, it's terrible.
And not even young people. I know people just as old as I am. And
Oh
they're
yeah.
all caught up in that hip hop thing. And it's not only young people. A lot of them like it too. And you can't tell them shit from shine on.
Yeah, it's
You
very
know, it's the
bad.
same kind of
I
mentality.
mean, I
Remember years ago,
I mean, I like hip hop
huh?
myself. There's nothing wrong with the like of hip hop.
But you're a
It's
different kind
if
of
you,
person.
I don't like it at all. Not too much.
yes,
Not
if
what
you
you got out your
buy
mouth.
into the glorification of the materialism and things of that
But
nature.
you
You
don't
know,
have an angry
um,
spirit. You understand the
mhm,
difference? You don't have an angry
mhm,
spirit. You know,
And you talk like you have sense. I remember once my son was getting his hair cut over there. Well, I live in Harlem. I don't even want to say where it was. And they had these old fools, and they had this song out, and it was so bad. It was so bad. It was just going through me. I was sitting over there by the speakers, but I couldn't say anything because it wasn't my establishment. If I known I had said something, it would just they would have cussed me out. But I mean, these old guys was up there and they were singing this song about it was just a mess about it. He should have been a doctor, and it was just a whole bunch of ignorance. And these old fools up there singing this mess. I'm talking about just as old as I am or older. And I told my son, I said, you know something, next time you take your money, you go get your hair done, you go get your hair cut, and I will stay home. I said, I ain't sitting in there and hear that
mm,
mess again. That mess was going through me. I'm telling you, I was sitting there by the speakers and it was just going through me. And I said, oh
mm,
my God, I couldn't say anything because, this is not my business. So I just sat there and I was just like, my God, this is the level. And that kind of music breeds that lower vibration. I'm telling you,
well,
it's
I think it depends on what type of hip hop you're listening to. Not all hip hop is the same. You
no, I
know,
know
you're
like
right.
saying that,
any other music.
but this mess
Yeah,
today,
I personally I like a lot of hip hop. I like it.
well, it
I
wasn't no
like
public
any music
enemy.
from
I
any
tell you that
genre.
much.
You know, that sounds good to my ears. That's pleasant. Words in it.
hmm
Um, I you know
That
I
mess is
just
foolishness. I'm
no.
telling
Some
you,
of it's very positive. You know,
some of it is, but you
some
don't
of
hear.
it teaches. Some of it teaches history in it and life
Sure,
Oh
stories
yeah,
and
there's a lot of good underground hip hop. You know
but
that
they're
that
not.
that is.
Those people are not played on the radio. It's a
Hmm
reason why that's done. Those people are
Yeah.
not played on the radio. And
Right.
even though Public Enemy and the other groups from the 80s and the 90s, KRS-One, the people that taught, history and taught culture
hmm
to us to be proud of who we were.
Right.
And these people are considered legacy artists now. They're not played on the
hmm
radio. Not normally
Right.
they got all kind of filth on the radio.
Yeah.
These are what is geared towards, because even I'm gonna tell you something. Dr. King had made a statement, and this was during his speech that he did at the church. The one that he did about the war, the Vietnam War. The day it was 1 year to the date that he died. You have to hear it. When he was over there at Riverside Church. Look up that speech, but he talked about how when the Europeans went into, Cambodia and those different places, he said that it was the women. He said when the women fall, the whole civilization falls. Because he
Mm-hmm.
was talking about how they were selling their sisters and they were selling their mothers,
Mm,
and for sex or whatever. And he was saying that
mm,
how when you have a an empire, or you have a kingdom, or you have a culture, or you have a country, and if the women fall, the women who raises the children, the women raise these sons. A lot of
mm-hmm.
these men that you find out here are very angry towards women because their mother didn't treat them right.
Right, right.
That's a lot of things that they
You
don't want
have
to.
a
The
you have a
mothers did
question
not
down
treat them
there.
right.
Yeah, yeah. I posted it up. Um, it's Denzel. He wants to know, how do we feel about the Texas governor Greg Abbott busing immigrants to New York?
I'm very sad about the situation
Mm-hmm.
because of two reasons. The immigrants have children. The children are suffering. Families are suffering, and at the same time, it's not doing New York City any good. The mayor finally opened his mouth and said that it would destroy New York City.
Yeah, and he's
He's
part of
been
that
saying that.
destruction because he brought him in.
No, he didn't bring them in. This is mandated from on a presidential level.
Yeah, the president.
Mandated on president. This is mandated on the president. We don't have the resources. America does not have the resources for all these immigrants to come in here. That's why
No,
there
they
was
don't.
a system.
Yeah, there's so many people that are here in America that need resources that can't get them.
That's right.
And we're bringing in, more and more people every day, immigrants every day, by the busload. It's
Well,
not fair.
I have mixed feelings about that. We don't have the resources. I think we do, and it's a lot of things we don't know. And
Mm.
if you look around, so many buildings are abandoned, or
Yeah, that's
houses
true.
that could be fixed up
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the immigrants as well as the veterans, and low income families. They just don't want to do it. You
right.
know,
But you
those
need
buildings are actually deserted,
charity
Yeah,
or
but
begins.
we
the
need, but
owners died.
yeah,
The
but
owners
we need to
died.
take care of our own first
Up
No,
first.
before.
I believe that we have enough for all of us. If we have to have them here, I believe the resources are there. But I agree with you that we have to take care of our own. It's disgusting, a shame that veterans are homeless who have been willing to lay down their lives and die for this country. Uh, it's disgusting, you know. Even in the town I'm in, you should see how many abandoned homes there are that are in pretty good shape that they could patch up to put people in, you know.
But that's
Yeah.
like from the
Yeah.
Now, when you say the Latinos are fixing up the homes in Detroit and moving into them, are you saying they're doing it without permission of the state, Denzel? Or they just, can
well,
you answer that?
they're getting help. They're getting help that our own people couldn't even get. They're getting help. And then they also come from a culture where they're more they stick together.
Together. Yeah, they definitely are.
Oh
He's
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
sure.
Definitely stick together.
Could you come on another show with that information? Could you research for us, Denzel, and keep us abreast of what's going on
Yeah,
with
definitely.
that? I mean, they're even trying in some states to stop the mini homes that are being built. You know, they've upped the
Mm-hmm.
price. They were more reasonable. Now they're more expensive. And
Right. I heard about that.
yeah, the prices are going up. You know, it's going to be a time where we have to chip in together and get something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And SUVs and camp and a piece of land and put some tents on it and build
Mm.
because it's ridiculous. Curtis Wheeler wants to be the new mayor. I don't trust him either. You know,
I tell you
I
what,
don't really trust. They all talk a good game until they get in
yeah,
there.
right. I don't trust him either, but I take him over Adams any day.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Now Adams is he's panicking, saying that it's a deterrent. It's destroying New York City.
Because we don't
Uh,
have the space. And the governor won't, the governor gave him some money, but the governor, he wanted to move them up in upstate. And she said no, because she knows her folks would crucify her if she brings those people up there. They do not want to see those people. And she basically told him that, New York City has a sanctuary law and they're your problem. And he's
Mm.
very, very upset about it. Biden won't, you don't want to really fool with him. So he's stuck in the quandary because he's basically saying that he doesn't have the money. Look, we don't have nowhere for these people. We need space. We need money. We need money. We need space. There's thousands of them coming a day on buses. We don't know what kind of shape these people are in. We don't know if they, have any kind of communicable diseases. We don't know anything. But they're coming into a
Yeah.
city and and they're coming to our community. They're not going to rich people's they're not going to go to rich people's neighborhoods. They're coming to your neighborhood.
well, guess
And
what? They're gonna encroach on that too if they have to. It's gonna happen if it's out of hand. You know,
well, we'll see because the
uh,
rich
Biden's
usually,
in Washington D.C. and little
well,
be
they
known to a
live
lot
there.
of people. There's a great amount of population of homeless there. It's been like that for
Yeah.
years. I've
Yeah. For
walked through
years.
there and there have been homeless people that tried to approach me with my cameras and the whole 9 yards. And I'm talking back like in the 80s and 90s. And it's still like that.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of homeless people in all of these inner cities. A lot of homeless people
Mm-hmm.
in Baltimore. There's a lot of homeless people in Chicago and Detroit. Whenever there's inner cities, there's always a lot of homelessness.
Yeah.
Always a lot of homelessness.
Yeah.
It was like that. Is homelessness has been, I tell you the truth, is really gotten bad since the 80s. I remember since when Reagan was president. That's
Oh,
when I
yeah.
started seeing all these people laying out on the ground. I don't remember. You would see them, over there in the Bowery because I grew up downtown, and you would see people laid out in the street in the Bowery, and you didn't see them anywhere else. But in the 80s, and I'm talking about the early 80s, where you worked, they would be in this, they would be sleep, they would be smelling, and they would be sleeping on cardboard boxes and like in the banks. It was just bad. That's when I started seeing all this influx of homelessness was like in the early 80s.
Well, I definitely saw it more so in Washington D.C. than I did in New York at that time. You know, now it's very very unsafe. You have to
Yeah,
be very
you
very
don't
careful of
you
where you
don't know.
go.
A lot of them have mental illness. You don't know if you're going to get attacked on the trains. People are being attacked. People are being robbed and beaten on the trains, even on the buses. Sometimes people are being attacked.
Yeah.
It's so bad. I'm gonna
Oh
tell you
yeah.
something. It's so bad. I don't know where you are, but when you go into Dwayne Reed and CBS and stuff, everything is locked up.
Oh yeah, they're showing all of that on the videos now, where people right in front of the workers are just snatching stuff off the shelves that they
Mm-hmm.
could sell, medicine, makeup, whatever they could sell. They're snatching it off and putting
Oh yeah.
hoods on, and the workers are just standing there. They don't know what to do. I guess the police are slow to respond, and it's a mess. But I know your show is about land given back to tribes.
No, that's not
That
what the show is. That's not what the show is
one
about.
one of your topics.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's one of the topics. Yeah. Hold on before you get into that. Let me pull up the. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me find it here. Share screen. Yeah, one of the reasons why I wanted to um, add that into the discussion is because you have some in the Afrocentric community who feel that anyone who looks like us, who claims American Indian heritage, uh, does not have the blood, and they rely heavily on information coming from Henry Louis Gates, um, and things of that nature. And there's a lot of things that they don't understand about DNA. We'll get into that later on in this particular discussion, and this right here is leading into that. And I'll give the mic to you in a second, Firebird. Um, so here's one example of people of higher melanation who look like us, okay? Indigenous land in New Jersey was 63 acres was returned to them. And I don't. Do you see it on the
Oh
screen?
wow.
Did it come up yet, Firebird?
Yes,
Firebird,
yes, I
hello,
see it.
Firebird.
I see it.
Firebird must can't hear us. You hear me, Jeanette?
Yes, she said she can see it.
Oh, okay, you see it?
Yeah, that's the nana coat.
Okay, yeah, because I couldn't hear her before. Right. Yeah. So you wanted to discuss to weigh in on that, Firebird.
Well, the reason why I thought about it for the second is because we were on the topic of homelessness, and in a matter of speaking, I guess you would say that this nation, the Nanaco, Lenape people, uh, they lost 63 acres of their land, and it's just been basically returned back to them. And you said you wanted to read the article about it.
We don't have to read the article. I just wanted to pull up the first page of the article, but you can continue talking.
And you can imagine what they felt getting that land back. And I also want you to know that the Ramapos just received a year ago 54 acres back. So
Right.
it's a blessing for Lenape nations on the East Coast. And there's a lot of celebrations going on. The Ramapo, uh, they're doing a lot of positive things, ceremonies now, and reopening, redoing a center they have up there, and plans on building. And it's just wonderful. It's wonderful.
Exactly. Exactly.
Did you want to weigh into that, Jeanette?
Well, I didn't know that they had gotten. I'm quite certain that this is a drop in the bucket to what they originally had. But thank God they. I mean, did they go to court to get this, or how did they get this land back? How did they get this land back through Feerce?
Want me to read? Can
I
you pull
can
up the article?
read
Give me one
read it
second.
to you.
Yeah, I can't see it on this screen. It's very small.
Okay, I'll read you briefly. The Nanaco Indian and Lenape Indian tribes in Delaware have long sought to reacquire some of their ancestral lands, but purchasing the 41 acres the groups were after proved difficult. However, in large part because the Native American tribes lacked the money, but three entities whose mission is preserving land: the state of Delaware's Open Space Program, the Northern Delaware based Mount Cuba Center, and the Conservation Fund in Arlington, Virginia, have joined forces financially and logistically to restore the properties to the tribe and restrict them from residential development. The first deal provides 30 acres in the Millsboro area of Sussex County to the Nanacoke tribe. The state approved a $325,000 payment in June to create the conservation casement on the land that protects it from development. The Mount Cuba Center and Conservation Fund did not disclose what they spent on either deal, but but Mount Cuba Center Executive Director Jeff Downing said the previous owners had listed the property at more than $1 million. The second deal secures 11 acres in the Dover area of Kent County for the Lenape tribe. The state spent $238,000 to remediate soil contamination on the land that previously was home to the state police shooting range. The conservation easement was approved Wednesday by the state's open space program, and the purchase will be finalized in the coming months. Blaine Phillips, Senior Vice President for the Conservation Fund that handles the real estate transactions, said the deals were long overdue. This transaction represents a restoration of tribal rights, Phillips said of the Nanticoke deal in a statement. The Nanticoke were here long before us, and now at least part of our land records will reflect that. There's more to it than just buying a piece of property. It's about restoring culture. It's about honoring their ancestral rights. Noting the widespread construction of housing development in the areas near Delaware's beach towns in the last 2 decades, Phillips said that getting the land is also critical to preserving some of the fragile coastal area from the intense development around it. Nanticoke chief Nanosha Norwood Carmen said her tribe did not have to pay for the purchases or easement and is honored by the largest of its new benefactors. I believe that it's something that our future generations will appreciate as they now witness of having received this land, Carmen said. It's something that will be history for them to be able to share with their youth and generations to come. The land sits near a one-room schoolhouse for Native American children that closed in the 1960s after about 40 years in operation. Carmine said the land will be used for an array of Nanaco activities, including hiking, lacrosse games, and its annual powwow celebration. We renew and refresh our spirits, Carmine said of the powwow, which has been held on leased land. We remember our ancestors will, share our culture and customs with the public, and we have tribal communities that come together with us. An official at the Conservation Fund said the bulk of the money for the deals came from Mount Cuba Center, known for its botanical gardens on a former DuPont family estate a few miles from President Biden's home. The nonprofit also focuses on land conservation. Downey said the properties were two parcels that were of great cultural and historical significance to our Delaware tribe. Restoring the lands to the tribes just seems like such a great way to give back to the community, Downing said. Part of our mission is conserving or fostering biodiversity because it enhances resilience. So it just seems like helping to support Native American communities was one way that we could help support the diversity of our community. Dennis White Otakogas, the principal chief of the Lenape tribe, recently told the Washington Post they might turn part of the 11 acres into an edible forest garden. That would include berry producing plants along with shad and spice bushes that were once used by Native Americans and are natives to the area.
Well, I think
they got the land back.
I'm glad they got their land back. And I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Is a lot of us, the reason why we, a lot of our families came here from the South and we remove. But there's a certain amount of strength that you get from being on your land, tied to your land.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a certain amount of strength you get from that.
Mhm.
I tend to look at everything from more of a spiritual perspective, and I'm happy they got their land back.
But you see who
Yeah.
gave it to them, right? You see
Well,
who
yeah, I'm quite certain it was Europeans that got the money up that helped them. I'm quite certain of that.
Yes,
Well,
that's what it says.
they got it.
That's what the article
Mhm.
states.
Well, I'm happy for them. I'm
Yeah.
really happy for them because that is a real blessing. And if they can start growing their own food, that's even more of a blessing. Times that we living in,
Exactly.
So
Mhm.
I'm really happy for them, the Nanacoats and the Lenapes. I'm really had. We
Mhm.
went to a powwow years ago on Exit 5. It was far on the New Jersey Turnpike. We went. They were supposed to be Powhatans too, but they were. Well, they had people there they were saying they were Rappahannocks. They had some of the other. I know that they're related to the Virginia tribes, like the Lenape. I know that they have some ties to the Virginia tribes, and I noticed that the way even the Lenapes upstate, they look like Virginia people too. At least to me, they do.
Well, we're all basically related, different Lenape groups.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They have that look. Well, I'm happy for them. I'm really happy. I hope that they take this land and and they come together and then be a whole, once you get something and everybody gotta say so, everybody want to be the chief and nobody can get together. But I hope that they come together and work this show with this.
Did you want me to read about the Ramapo?
Sure.
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
All right. They got back 54 acres of land. The Ramapo Lenape people were given ownership of 54 acres of land around Split Rock Mountain in northern New Jersey. The Land Conservancy of New Jersey raised over 300,000 from private donors to purchase the land from the Rockland County Sewer District. The land was donated to the Ramapo February 22nd. The Ramapo Lenape people have long used the land as an ancestral site. David Johnson, an archaeologist who studied native culture, says the Ramapos revere Split Rock Mountain. He's glad the land is back under their control after years of neglect. Rockland County Executive Ed Day said safeguarding the sacred ground is the right thing to do for our neighbors, the Ramapo Lenape, and for all people who want to make sure this important place is preserved now and for future generations. The Ramapo Lenape people are also known as the Ramapo Mountain Indians. They consider themselves descended from the larger Lenape nation. Um, they also were blessed to receive back a deed that is 285 years old. It was
Wow.
returned to them by the Sloat family, Sloat family in Marwa, a 285-year-old deed granting land use to members of the Sloat family was returned by its descendants to the Ramapo tribe in a symbolic ceremony at Ramapo College on Saturday. That was last year.
That's
Okay.
deep. That's deep.
Yeah.
Ooh, I just got the chills
Mm,
when you said that.
You
mm-hmm.
know about the walking treaty?
No, I'm not
How the,
familiar. To
how the
Which
lighten
which
me.
Delaware
which city?
Indians were tricked out of
Oh, we frozen.
Yeah, the
Firebird.
Firebird
Oh, what do you think she's
Firebird
coming?
froze.
Wow, that's heavy. I just got the chills
Mm-hmm.
when she said that's heavy.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Yes.
heavy.
So Denzel says he did ancestry DNA and found he had cousins in Virginia. Mm. Also had white cousins who were Scottish. Yeah, you might be related to those people there.
You never know because my family's Chickahominy, and my they got Irish. They got Irish and Scottish blood in them.
Yeah, the Scots and the Irish mixed heavily into the tribes.
Yeah, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
And then Virginia, even my mother's family, they were from North Carolina, but I believe they originated in Virginia too. Because remember,
Mm,
Virginia was like they broke up Virginia to West Virginia and Kentucky. Remember I
mm.
think they broke up Virginia into Kentucky too.
Oh, Kentucky
I know
too.
they're
Mm,
West
okay.
Virginia. That's how big
Yeah,
it was.
yeah, yeah. Virginia is
Virginia's
real
like the
big.
first state, you know.
Oh, he said Browns. He said
I have
Browns
Browns
and
in
Campbell.
my family too.
I have Browns too. Yeah, we might be
I have
related.
Browns.
Wow.
I don't know about Campbell's, but I have Browns. As a
Yeah, I have
matter of
Browns.
fact, those Browns, from what I understand, they had slaves.
Mm,
At least that's what, from my understanding of it.
okay. Yeah, yeah. I know. I have Browns in my family.
It's a common surname.
Yeah, 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 yeah. For sure.
It's a very common surname, but that's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep.
And speaking about, he mentioned DNA. That's another thing he was going to talk about. Was the DNA. Um, you got people who knock DNA, but one good thing about the DNA tests is if you're looking to expand your genealogy, it's a very good tool to be able to get over many of the roadblocks that people fall into when they're doing their genealogy. you know, and you could find DNA relatives. Okay, Firebird is back.
Yeah, and they can also, a lot of us, because we have fragmented history, and you find others that can really help you find your, find your people.
Mm-hmm.
Find your people, because a lot of us, we don't really know past. I mean, we're doing good if we know our great grandmother, and most of
Exactly.
us don't know past that. Our great grandmother and our great grandfather. Most of us don't. We come from a very fragmented history.
Yeah, luckily I was able to get that from my grandmother. She had kept very good records.
But you're blessed, because
Yeah.
on my mother's side, we don't know, like, like, I know my great grandmother, but other than that, who were her parents, I don't know. I asked my cousin at the
Mm,
cookout on Saturday, and I asked him who was. He said he didn't know. So they're
mm,
doing research too.
mm-hmm, mm. Yeah. Firebird, the last thing we heard from you was
You telling
was
us about the
uh
tree,
s- uh tell us
walking,
you were saying something about a walking treaty. That's the last thing we heard. Walking
walking
treaty.
stick or
Uh
something like that.
no, she said walking treaty.
Oh,
Your mic is muted, Firebird. Unmute your mic. Firebird, unmute your mic.
I wanted to teach you something about how a lot of the Lenape land was stolen,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the Pennsylvania area.
Mm-hmm.
And
The last thing you said was the walking treaty. That's the last thing we heard you say.
yeah, it's called the Walking Purchase or the Walking Treaty.
Okay,
Can you hear
you want
me?
to elaborate? Yeah, you want to break that down?
Okay. The Walking Purchase, also known as the Walking Treaty, was a 1737 agreement between the Penn family, the original proprietors of the province of Pennsylvania, later the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and the Lenape Native Indians. In the purchase, the Penn family and proprietors claimed that a 1686 treaty with the Lenape ceded an area of 1,200,000 acres in present-day Lehigh Valley and northeastern Pennsylvania and colonial Pennsylvania, which included a western land boundary extending as far west as a man could walk in a day and a half, which led to its name. Okay. Under the Walking Treaty of 1737, the sons of province of Pennsylvania founder William Penn acquired the shady area of present-day Lehigh Valley in northeastern Pennsylvania in the province of Pennsylvania and the West Jersey region in colonial New Jersey. The area is along the northern reaches of the Delaware River on Pennsylvania's border with what was called at the time West Jersey, refers to the treaty as a land swindle. Okay, the Lenape appeared to the Iroquois Indian tribe to their north for aid on the issue, but the Iroquois refused their request, ultimately siding with the Penn interest. See how we fight against each other?
yes.
Mm,
Okay, a
exactly.
legal suit was filed almost 300 years later over the continuing dispute. In the 2004 court case, Delaware Nation versus Pennsylvania, the Delaware tribe, one of those three later federally recognized Lenape tribes and its descendants in the 21st century, claimed 314 acres of land, including in the original so-called purchase in 1737, but the U.S. District Court granted the Commonwealth motion to dismiss it, ruled that the case was non-justiciable even if the Delaware Nation's allegations of fraud were true. The ruling held through several appeals actions made through several levels of the United States Courts of Appeal. The Supreme Court of the United States refused to hear the case. You know why? You know what that's about. Thereby upholding the lower court's decision. Here's the history, okay? The founder of the colony, William Penn, in 1681 enjoyed a reputation for fair dealings with the Lenape. However, Penn's heirs, John Penn, the American, and Thomas Penn, were known for not following many of their father's moderate practices. We know why Pennsylvania was named Pennsylvania. In 1736, they claimed a deed from 1686 under which the Lenape promised to sell a tract beginning at the junction of the upper Delaware River and the tributary Lehigh River near present-day eastern Pennsylvania in the Lehigh Valley and extending as far west as a man could walk in a day and a half. The agreement later became known as the Walking Purchase or the Walking Treaty of 1737. The original 17th century document might have been a verbal agreement, an unsigned treaty, an unratified treaty, or an outright forgery. Regardless, the Penn's agents began selling land in the region in and around present-day Lehigh Valley along the River as the treaty was enforced and prior to the Lenape vacating their still inhabited area. To allay the Lenape's misgivings and suspicions, Penn Land Office agent and provincial secretary James Logan produced a map that misrepresented the further Lehigh River as the closer Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. Uh, where was I? Creek, and including a dotted line showing a similarly reasonable path that the walkers would take. Satisfied that the land in question was not so terrible a price to honor, the old deed the Lenape signed on, making the now 1737 treaty official. According to the popular account, Lenape leaders assumed that about 40 miles was the longest distance that could be covered under these conditions. Provincial Secretary Logan hired the three fastest runners in the colony. In other words, he was ahead of Lenape. He schemed and got professional runners to run because uh, what it meant was that whoever could run the fastest would get land, even though it was Lenape land.
Mm.
Okay. Uh, Whoever could run the longest distance that could be covered under these conditions, um, the fastest runners in the colony, Edward Marshall, Solomon Jennings, and James Yeats, to run on a prepared trail. Everything was laid out. They were supervised during the walk by Timothy Smith, who was then the sheriff of Bucks County, Pennsylvania. The walk occurred on September 19th, 1737. Only Marshall finished, reaching the modern vicinity of present-day Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, 70 miles to the north of the end of the walk. Sheriff Smith drew a perpendicular line back towards the northeast and claimed all the land east of these two lines ended at the Delaware River that now represent the border between eastern Pennsylvania and western New Jersey. This resulted in an area of 1,209,932 acres, only slightly smaller than the size of Rhode Island, located in seven present-day counties in eastern Pennsylvania: Pike, Monroe, Carbon, Schuylkill, Northampton, Lehigh, and Bucks. The Delaware tribe leaders appealed for assistance to the Iroquois Confederacy tribe to the north, who claimed hegemony over the Delaware River, but the Iroquois leaders decided that it was not to their best interest to intervene or behalf of their southern neighbors, since Iroquois leader Captain Logan already made a deal with the Iroquois to support the colonial side. As a result, the Lenape vacated the walk and purchase lands in present day eastern Pennsylvania and western New Jersey. And it goes on and on and on. And this is how, out of trickery, the Lenape people lost millions of acres of land because of William Penn, the brother of the creator of brotherly love. His sons were disingenuous human beings and grabbed up land without his permission against the Lenape people that he had high reverence from. So that's a little deeper on why so much of the land was stolen and how it was stolen by the very man that they named Pennsylvania after.
That's
His family. His
that was
family.
because he was wanting to found. If I'm not mistaken, he signed. I believe he signed the Declaration of Independence. Did he not? Fearce?
William Penn, I'm not sure.
I believe
I'm not
so
sure.
because he was a Quaker. Wasn't he a Quaker?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, they were Quakers, and they had a bond. That's why really Pennsylvania was a so-called free state.
Well, it was named after him.
Yeah, I know.
Brotherly love. He had respect basically for the Lenape people, but his sons were crooked, and it's still an issue to this day.
Mm.
We have another person who joined in, Big Cray Money. Just want to give some
He
acknowledgement.
he did not sign the Declaration of Independence.
He didn't.
No,
I didn't think so.
no.
So who signed it for Pennsylvania? Who signed it for Pennsylvania? Because the different ones signed it for different states.
Yeah, it wasn't him. Uh, and today the Lenape people are not really recognized today in Pennsylvania. Still
Wow.
fighting. My friends are fighting for recognition. The Lenape Nation of Pennsylvania still going on.
Wow, that's deep. Lord have
Yeah.
mercy.
Um.
Okay, you want to know who signed for Pennsylvania? Benjamin
Yeah, who signed
Franklin,
for Pennsylvania?
Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Rush, George Clymer, Robert Morris, Francis Hawkins. No, Robert Morris.
Okay.
Four people signed.
Okay.
And they're still fighting in Pennsylvania. As a matter of fact, the federal recognized tribe of the Delaware, Oklahoma, are trying to have dominion over the state of Pennsylvania. They're trying to move back and have dominion over that land. They're trying for New York and New Jersey as well, and they're calling all other tribes fake and phony. So it's a big mess. I had a
mm,
lot of encounters with the representative, the ex-representative from the Delaware, where Lenny Lenape. He didn't want me to host the parade unless they were included, and they denounced the other nations that were coming. So it was a mess up to a few months ago. but they're still trying to take over Pennsylvania and denounce any natives that are there in New Jersey and New York that are Lenape.
Mm, mm. Yeah. And again, for anyone that's viewing who would like to leave a donation, I left the information in the chat via PayPal and Cash App. Anyone who leaves a donation of $30 or more will get a free T-shirt, free indigenous T-shirt, such as the um, um, original landlords T-shirt and the MAGA T-shirts, the Make America Great Again T-shirts. Um, Let me see if I have one here. Let's see here. One second. Thought I had one here, but anyway, I showed it on the last. I showed them on the last show. So if you want reference, just look at the last couple of shows that we did. But anyway, I want to shift gears a little bit, and so we were talking about the DNA and how some in the Afrocentric community have fallen into the belief that, or the propaganda that was put out by Henry Louis Gates, that most of those of us who are classified as African American do not have uh, American Indian DNA. And there's certain things that people have to understand with regards to DNA. Like, for instance, there are factors such as one being that the DNA companies don't have a whole lot of samples from the tribes. A lot of tribes do not want to give their DNA. And in order for you do to have accurate results, you have to have the samples there from ethnic groups in your database. Okay. And their database for American Indians is very limited. Okay. I want to pull up an article here that I want to read, just to so that y'all don't think that I'm just making this up when I say that a lot of American Indians do not want to give their DNA. Of course, that's not every tribe, but it's definitely a lot of the tribes. Some tribes do, many, even more tribes don't. Okay. And I'm going to read this article here on the screen. It should be coming up any second now. And this is from History, um, the History magazine. And it says, why the Navajo Nation banned genetic research.
I know why.
A 15-year-old ban looks likely to fall, but misgivings will linger. Okay, and this was from July 11th, 2023. Okay, and it says here, in 2003, Carletta Tilausi, a member of Northern Arizona's tiny Havas, Havasupai tribe, listened to a student's doctoral presentation. She was there to hear the results of a diabetes study conducted in part with her DNA, or so she thought. As she spoke, Talausi realized that her DNA and that of other members of the Havasapal tribe had been used for other studies too. Some of the findings, it turned out, challenged her tribe's traditional stories by suggesting that the Havasupai people did not originate in Arizona. That genetic analysis, tribe members worried, could potentially pose a threat to their claims to their traditional lands. Talausi's case is part of the reason that the Navajo Nation, the second largest federally recognized tribe in the United States, continues to ban research using its people's DNA. Since 2002, Navajo leaders and community members have opted out of genetic research because of suspicions about how their DNA would be used and a long history of distrust of the medical community's motivations and methods. In August 2017, a group of Navajo Nation leaders and community members came together to decide whether to lift the moratorium. Navajo leaders, researchers, and tribal members, and even medicine men are pretty much in consensus. Reports Pauli Denekla for the Navajo Times. It's now likely that the Navajo Nation will lift the ban. The specifics of the new policy are still being hashed out, but one thing is already clear. This time, the Navajo Nation will be in control of their own people's DNA. That's a dramatic break from the past, one in which Native American people's bodies and genetic material have been violated and used without consent. Native Americans' bodies have been subjects of curiosity and medical experimentation since Europeans began to colonize North America. In the 19th century, academics applied pseudoscience like phrenology, which claimed that skull shape reflected intellect and mortality, to Native Americans. According to historian Marin Sanders, phrenologists used the skulls of Native Americans to prove that the Indians were more ignorant and vindictive, bloodthirsty, and cruel in war, and would ultimately prefer extermination to slavery. Phrenologists weren't phrenologists weren't the only people interested in Native American bodies. Wait, moved up too far. Native American bodies. Anthropologists and Anthropologists and museum curators, too, over the course of the 19th century, they collected Native American remains, even digging up graves out of a desire to compare them to those of other races. Often, these practices were used to justify the mistreatment of Native Americans, fueling mistrust in any scientific use of people's bodies. And experiences like those of Talausi's made it even more difficult to trust researchers. Though Talausi and other Havasupai tribe members thought they were donating DNA to a research project in type 2 diabetes, the material was also used for studies on things like schizophrenia, inbreeding, and the tribe's geographical roots. To Talausi and other tribe members, that felt like a violation. Though each of those topics is relevant to the scientific community, they are taboo within Havasupai culture. Genetic evidence that the Havasupai people migrated from the Bering Strait directly conflicts with the tribe's understanding of its origins. Those stories hold that the Havasupai has always lived in Arizona. Those stories hold that the Havasupai has always lived in Arizona, and that belief underlies the tribe's claims to its traditional lands. Some questioned the need to do scientific research about the genetic origins of Native Americans at all. As Kim Tallbear, an expert in racial politics and science and a member of the Sisseton Wapeton Oyate tribe, asked the Atlantic's Rose Evelith, we know who we are as a people, as an indigenous people. Why would we be so interested in where scientists think our genetic ancestors came from? Though the researcher who used the Havasupai tribe's DNA for other purposes maintained she had received informed consent, the Havasupai tribe sued. Eventually, it received a $700,000 payout. The case was compared to that of Henrietta Lacks, an African American woman whose cells became the basis of thousands of medical studies and breakthroughs without her or her family's knowledge or consent, without compensation. Tribal sovereignty and a history of misused remains aren't the only reason to question genetic research using the DNA of Native American people. To many Native Americans, there are serious ramifications for using a person's biological material, whether they are alive or dead. To us, explained Frank Dukpu, a Hopi geneticist, told the San Francisco Chronicle, any part of ourselves is sacred. Scientists say it's just DNA. For an Indian, it's not just DNA, it's part of a person. It's sacred. With deep religious significance, it is part of the essence of a person. Now, reports Sarah Reardon for Nature, the Navajo Nation will likely lift the ban and put a policy in place that dictates how testing is done, who oversees the genetic material and information about the DNA, and what's done with the material once it's used. That's big news for scientists. The ban's end means they'll have the chance to work with genetic material donated by people from the Navajo Nation, material that could yield new scientific insights, fuel discoveries, and potentially improve the health of Navajo people themselves with the development of specialized treatments based on genetic information. Blah, 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 blah. That's the gist of the article there. And I brought this to the brought this to the discussion just to have a receipt with regards to the sentiment uh, over. Oh, Firebird, mm, you still there? See her in the chat. Oh yeah,
Yes,
she's
I'm
still there.
here. I was just listening. Yeah, I'm familiar with a lot of that history, and
Yeah, you wanna weigh in on that a little bit? The DNA and the tribes
well,
feelings about giving their
I
DNA.
think the Navajo are correct. It, they don't want to be tested for diabetes or schizophrenia or any DNA studies that they have not been told what's going to happen. They don't want to be
Can you repeat
exploited.
that again, Firebird? You
They,
Firebird, can you repeat
they
that
don't
again?
want to
You went
be. They
out
don't
a
want to
little
be
bit.
exploited. They don't want to be exploited. They don't want their DNA in any type of studies or use their DNA to determine their citizenship. By not telling them, but doing the studies, the DNA clinics doing the studies without their permission to find out if they qualify to be citizens of the nation. Um, so they're safeguarding. They know who they are. I have lineage from that nation. Um, they know who they are, and they don't want interference to tell them who they are. You know, some people just accept the DNA studies, and they don't really know what the DNA studies is being used for. You know, so I applaud them. You know, we already know that the requirements to be native is depending on what tribe you're from. One tribe you have to be 50%. One tribe you can be a quarter percent. You know, it's not across the board. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a mess. It's a mess.
Yeah.
So I know one guy that went to have his DNA um, tested to find out how much, and the technician told him, "You know, you're native. Don't bother to have the test." So
Mm-hmm.
what does that tell you? And
Exactly.
what's that man's name? Gates. That's on
Henry Louis Gates.
videos. He's a doctor, Gates.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he's lying to people as well.
Oh yeah, he's lying. Yeah, he's lying.
We don't know if he's an agent or he's just trying to get views and likes like people do on Facebook.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. You
You
know,
know, but
because if you don't have a whole lot of people in that database from the Native American communities,
you're right.
then
Nobody is
of course,
according to him. I don't think anybody's Native American. You know, and
you know,
you have to remember we have over 240 great grandparents, and they could have intermarried with anyone. But that
hmm
doesn't mean that you're not indigenous or you don't have the blood. You know,
exactly.
because we you can have a long family tree with that diversity,
hmm
and with Mr. Gates and people like Plecker and all these kind of people. By golly, we're gonna get rid of all the Indians, even if we have to use a person of melanation to help us. You know, and
Exactly.
that's how I see him. You know, he lied
hmm
about. I think he lied about Oprah, and it was caught
Right.
on
They
video him
busted him.
saying,
Yeah, he
and
said it.
and they're still out there praising this man. You
Yeah,
know,
he said they just made her Zulu.
yeah,
And she was
made
not a
her
Zulu.
what, Zulu or something?
Zulu.
Zulu, right?
Yeah. You say
And
Rick Kittles is back there making it up anyway. Just make her Zulu.
I think they told Tina Turner she had no indigenous blood, and
Exactly.
she knew she did, and
hmm
it's a mess, and he's still out there doing that stuff,
Exactly.
So we
Exactly.
have agents among us.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know. But
So
you know, that's the attitude among many tribes. Many tribes, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree that many tribes don't want to give their DNA.
oh, when I was a child, it was a disgrace to be from a reservation. Now it's like I'm better than you. I'm from a reservation.
Yeah, sheep to be from a reservation now.
Yeah, it's very chic now.
That's what the Indian
People
Wars was
won't
over.
support you if you're not on a reservation.
Yeah,
That kind of
exactly.
attitude, or I'm going to have so and so and so and so on my program from the federal reservation of blah blah blah, and I know you'll come now. That
hmm
that that nonsense is going on, reversing history,
Yeah.
where our great leaders, Geronimo, Sitting Bull, Stalking Turkey, all the great sachems, fought hard to fight against all that system,
Hmm.
Osceola.
That's what
So
the
many
Indian
fought
Wars was
against
over.
that. Yes, they fought
Yeah.
against that imprisonment. But
Hmm.
now
And
it's
death.
it's used as a tool to be better than the next guy.
Hmm.
And another
Exactly.
group, they're fighting, oh yeah, when we get our land. And that's not going to happen either.
Exactly. Yeah. Uh, Denzel says he's 22% Cameroon, I think, but for sure 1% Indigenous Americans on his DNA. Yeah. And we're going to, I would go in a little more on the DNA, but I don't want to spoil it because I'm going to have a doctor come in to talk about DNA on one of the next upcoming shows. So I'm not going to get too deep
I
into it.
talked to her before. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And she's
She
going to
knows her
really,
stuff.
she knows her stuff and she's going to really go in. So for those in the Afrocentric community who believe that there were no people who look like us who are indigenous, you're going to want to stay tuned for the next few shows because she
Yep.
is going to break it down to its very last compound. Okay. And I don't want to spoil it. So I'm not going to go too much into the DNA because I want her to come on and do her thing. And she's going to really shake a lot of y'all up. You've got to definitely tune in when she comes on, you know. And so also for those in the um, Aboriginal community as well to join
Well,
in when she
maybe
comes in.
maybe people willing to put up 50,000, maybe they need to come on and debate her and give her the
Oh,
money.
exactly, exactly. You know, come in and they will lose. They will
Exactly.
definitely lose. Yeah,
And as
you
Cat
know.
Williams said, wait for it. I'll have my popcorn and my soda or my high C or whatever you want to call it and sit back with my arms behind my and just take it all in.
Yeah, exactly. Because she's gonna hit you from all kind of angles. All kind of roundhouses, uppercuts. And overhand punches. And jabs. You know, but yeah. And another article I wanted to read in that equation is having to do with Native
Is
American
Strong Bear
slavery.
Woman still there?
Yes, she's still there. She muted her mic. She might have had to step away for a second. But I wanted to talk about Native American slavery and this particular article. I'm going to pull up. Um, so you can keep talking as I pull this up.
I'm here. I had to go
Let's
feed the
see
cat.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about DNA
So this
studies
article,
and why certain tribes don't want DNA studies in their history included.
Yeah, I was online. I was here when he started reading off the thing about the Navajos. They didn't trust what they do with their. I mean, I can't blame them. You don't know what they doing with your DNA.
You sure don't. Might be cloning people.
I know. I didn't want to say it, but it is a reality.
It is a reality.
I'm gonna call you back in a few. I'm doing a live. Okay. Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about Native American slavery because one thing with regards to the slave trade, which have a lot of people who believe that the slave trade didn't happen, but uh, it
Didn't
actually
have.
did
I
happen.
didn't hear the last part.
About the slave trade. We have a lot of
Oh, they didn't
yeah,
believe in the
a lot of people who don't
transatlantic
believe
slave
that
trade
it happened.
Or the American Indian slave trade.
No, 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 no. I said that I wanted to talk a little bit about Native American slavery and the I brought up the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, and I was saying talking about how you have some people who believe that it didn't happen at all, and it's not true that it didn't happen at all. It just didn't happen on the grand scale that they say it happened. Okay, that's that's got to be put into context. Um, can't go to the extreme and say that it never happened because there's too much evidence that it did, but it didn't happen. The numbers that they say came here was exaggerated, and particularly in North America, you know. But regular American history books, just in what we learned in elementary school, tells you that less than 5% of those that came over via the transatlantic slave trade came to North America. Okay, most went to Latin America and the Caribbean, and even those numbers were greatly exaggerated as well. Um, you factor in, you know, how many didn't survive the trip coming over um, on on that journey, and what they forget to mention in that equation is that the Native American slave trade was going on before the Africans came here, and they were being sold intercontinentally and also into markets in Europe and in Africa. Okay, and they were sold as Negroes. So when you talk about the Negroes who were being sold as slaves, you know, a lot of those Negroes were Indians, and they even made a distinction as to the the two different types of Negroes. Um, Negroes de Guinea were the Negroes that were brought from Africa, and the Negros de Terra were the ones that were here. Okay, and when you study the trade that went on in Brazil, you know, you look at those records, you see that documented, and so some believe that there are no more indigenous peoples in the Caribbean. And the reason why I bring up the Caribbean, because you know this show is about the indigenous peoples on the east coast of North America and the Caribbean. So we definitely have to give the Caribbean that attention in history. And this particular article I'm going to share with you now is dealing with that history.
I know the
Again,
people in this article.
yeah,
I know them personally. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I definitely have seen them throughout the years at various functions. Give me 1 second here. Share the screen. Present. And that should be coming up in a second. And this particular article is entitled Genes of Extinct Caribbean Islanders Found in Living People. Getting some feedback. Somebody. 1,000-year-old skeleton's DNA counters myth that Taino population was completely wiped out. It says here, Jorge Estevez grew up in the Dominican Republic in New York City, hearing stories about his native Caribbean ancestors from his mother and grandmother. But when he told his teachers that he is Taino and indigenous Caribbean, they said that was impossible. According to Spanish accounts, we went extinct 30 years after European contact, says Estevez, an expert on Taino cultures at the Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of the American Indian, who is based in New York City. Many scientists and historians disease, slavery, and other brutal consequences of European colonization without passing down any genes to the people in the Caribbean today. But a new genetic study of a 1,000-year-old skeleton from the Bahamas and Caribbean population is related to the region's pre-contact indigenous people, offering direct molecular evidence against the idea of Taino extinction. These indigenous Ben Torres, a genetic anthropologist at Vanderbilt University in Nashville who studies the Caribbean's pop on several they've always been on these islands, she says. So to see it reflected in the ancient DNA, it's great. The skeletal remains come from a site called Preacher's Cave on Eleuthera, an island in the Bahamas. Archaeologists began excavating there in the early 2000s to probe Bahamas' first Europe after a shipwreck. After they dug, found they also found artifacts associated with the island's pre-contest, including a handful of
Jeanette, are you there? Jeanette?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just listening to him reading the story.
I can't hear him.
He disappeared.
Huh?
He disappeared.
Can you call him?
I think he's probably going to come back in. Give him a minute. But he's
just talking. He's talking, and
you hear him talking?
He was talking, but I couldn't hear him. He might think we're still on.
Oh, hold on. No, wait a minute.
Hey, Strongbear,
He's coming back in, Firebird.
Okay, hon.
He didn't know
Okay.
he didn't know he had dropped off.
I know. That's what I figured.
That's interesting. That article is about the Bahamas.
Huh?
Because isn't that where they claim that Columbus landed? Somewhere near there. They don't really know where he landed, and he never came to this land.
Some people tell me Kiskaya,
Oh,
but
really?
they think it's around that area. Like anything, people want to take credit.
Yeah.
It happens in all areas of life.
Yes. Here he comes.
Okay, yeah. Wow, I don't know what happened. So what was the last thing y'all heard me
You
reading?
were talking away, and I was going.
Oh, yeah, I was just reading away.
I was going.
Oh man. So what was the last part that y'all heard?
Oh, you were reading the article about
Yeah, what part of
George
what part in the
Jorge
article? Yeah,
Estevez.
what part in the article?
It
What was the
went
last
blank
part
like
y'all heard?
first
You mean
paragraph.
about the Bahamas? About they found the bones in Bahamas.
Oh, okay, let me go back. Let's see here.
You passed the part where he said that he talked to the
Okay, so I'm gonna have to go back up.
down there at the Native American what is that place called, the thing downtown, and they told him that the Spaniards say that all the Caribbean Indians were killed 30 years after
Extinct.
there was no more Caribbean Indians, there was no more Tainos, they were all exterminated.
Okay. So all right. So yeah, I think I know where we are. Okay, give me 1 second. And okay. So that's down here. So let's see. Okay, so many scientists and historians continue to believe that the Taino were wiped out by disease, slavery, and other brutal consequences of European colonialism without passing down any genes to people in the Caribbean today. But a new genetic study of a 1,000
Could
year old
you
skeleton.
could you guys speak up a little bit? Can you hear me?
This is this is as loud as mine goes.
Oh, okay. I hear you now.
Okay, many scientists and historians believe that uh, um, many scientists and historians continue to believe the Taino were wiped out by disease, slavery, and other brutal consequences of European colonialism without passing down any genes to people in the Caribbean today. But a new genetic study of a 1,000-year-old skeleton from the Bahamas shows that at least one modern Caribbean population is related to the region's pre-contact indigenous people, offering direct molecular evidence against the idea of Taino extinction. These indigenous communities were written out of history, says Jada Ben Torres, a genetic anthropologist at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, who studies the Caribbean's population history and has worked with native groups on several islands. They are adamant about their continuous existence, that they've always been on these islands, she says. So to see it reflected in the ancient DNA, it's great. The skeletal remains from the site, from a site called Preacher's Cave on Eleuthera, an island in the Bahamas. Archaeologists began excavating there in the early 2000s to probe the Bahamas' first European arrivals, Puritans who took refuge in a cave after a shipwreck. After they dug, they also found older artifacts associated with the island's pre contact indigenous culture, including a handful of well preserved burials. At the time, Hans Schroeder, an ancient DNA researcher at the Natural History Museum of Denmark and the University of Copenhagen, was on the lookout for skeletons from the Caribbean. He could test for DNA. Even though he knew the success was a long shot, DNA deteriorates faster in hot, humid environments than it does in cold, dry ones. Hunting for ancient DNA in the Caribbean was uncharted waters, he says. He tested teeth from 5 of the preacher's cave burials, and in the end, just one had DNA intact enough to sequence. But by the standards of ancient DNA from the tropics, that tooth was a bonanza. It belonged to a woman who lived about 1,000 years ago, according to radiocarbon dating. Schroeder's team sequenced each nucleotide base of her genome, averaging 12.4 times, providing the most complete genetic picture of a pre-contact Taino individual to date. They report this week in the proceedings of the Natural Academy of Sciences. It's a feat of working with tropical samples, says Maria Nieves Colon, a geneticist who studies ancient and modern Caribbean populations at the National Laboratory of Genomics for Biodiversity in Irapuato, Mexico, and at Arizona State University in Tempe. The Taino woman's DNA shores up archaeological evidence about her ancestors and her culture. When Schroeder's team captured her genome to those, when Schroeder's team compared her genome to those of other Native American groups, they found she was almost closely related to speakers of, they found she was most closely related to speakers of Arawakan languages in northern South America. Early Caribbean ceramics and tools are strikingly similar to ones found in excavations there, archaeologists have long argued. The two lines of evidence suggest that about 2,500 years ago, the woman's ancestors migrated from the northern coast of South America into the Caribbean rather than reaching the islands via the Yucatan Peninsula or Florida. It seems that once people arrived, they didn't stay put. Archaeologists know that ceramics and other goods were traded between islands, indicating frequent trips. Moreover, the Taino woman's genome doesn't contain long, repetitive sequences characteristic of inbred populations. Her community, therefore, was likely spread out across many islands and not confined to 500 square kilometers of Eleuthera. It looks like an interconnected network of people exchanging goods and services and genes, says William Schaefer, a bioarchaeologist at Phoenix College who helped excavate the remains in Preacher's Cave. Genetic studies of modern populations have found that many people from Puerto Rico, Cuba, and several other Caribbean islands carry significant indigenous ancestry in addition to genes inherited from European and African populations. Still, it's impossible. Still, it is possible that these living people descend not from the Taino, but rather from other Native Americans who, like many Africans, were forcibly brought to the islands as slaves. But when Schroeder compared the genomes of modern Puerto Ricans to the ancient Taino woman's genome, he concluded that they descended in part from an indigenous population closely related to hers. It's almost like the ancient Taino individual they're looking at is the cousin of the ancestors of the people from Puerto Rico. Nieves Colon says, Giving, growing up in Puerto Rico, she, like Estevez, was always told that the Taino died out. You know what? These people didn't disappear. In fact, they're still here. They're in us. Estevez, who founded the cultural organization Higayuga, Higayugwa Taino of the Caribbean, didn't need an ancient DNA study to tell him who he is. Thanks to his family and or thanks to his family's oral history and cultural practices, he says he has always had a strong connection to his indigenous ancestry, but he hopes the new study will convince skeptics that the Taino people are alive and kicking. It's another nail in the extinction coffin, he says. Yeah. So that is an article I wanted to share with the family. And, what it shows is when we were talking about Native American slavery, is that, as they said in the article, you know, many indigenous peoples were being traded um, in between islands and the mainland. Okay, so this is confirming the whole Native American slave trade. Firebird, I saw you talking, but you were muted. You
Just
wanted
a
to say,
footnote of history for your viewers. The Tainos are not federally recognized. That ruling doesn't apply to the Caribbean, um, and they don't have
exactly.
recognition there as far as federal status or whatever. That's a state ruling. They have organizations, tribal organizations, like we do here, but I doubt very seriously if they would get recognition as tribes in America, proper
Mm.
United States. They're still fighting since 2010. Uh, they've been fighting for since 2010 to be recognized as tribal nations in the Caribbean because of treaties that were found and history that was found. Um, and of course, the government there did the same thing as they do here. You don't exist. You're not real. You're making it up. You're French, Jewish, and whatever. And part of it's true because we're mixed people, but
Hmm.
they have enough indigenous blood to be considered indigenous. Some natives down there don't like to call themselves Taino. They said that's a word from Spain, and they call themselves
Hmm.
Boricua, and they
Boricua.
won't use the term Taino.
Hmm.
And it's very interesting because they're they're our people. We socialize with them, we include them as much as possible.
Hmm.
But it's very interesting because I've met some groups that they only want to associate with federal tribal members here. They won't support people that don't have that status. And because I don't know if it's psychological or if it's hopes that they'll get recognition by associating with federal United States tribes, but they definitely a few of those groups they don't really want to associate with someone unless there's federally recognizing going on. You know, um, I'm trying to be very careful of my words
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to offend anyone, but I have met individuals that have that thinking pattern, and I have met individuals from tribal setups here that feels that if you're not federal, you're not an Indian either. But I never thought I would encounter some brothers and sisters from the Caribbean with that same attitude. But I understand the psychology. It's just uh, it's a sad thing. So they're still fighting. Some of them, I heard, are getting land back down there and they're doing their tribal thing. And it's all beautiful. They're getting more recognition from the government, but they still have not gotten what they really want is an official recognition. So it's just very interesting, you know,
Mm-hmm.
very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
They're definitely Taino, Arawak people down there, and also
Right.
the Garifuna.
The
They speak
Garifuna.
the original Taino language,
That's right.
and they are very melanated people. They have the mixture of the indigenous African roots in their clothing and their dance. And I was trying to get a lot of them to come to the parade, but no luck this year. Hopefully next year. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to get them as
Yeah,
well.
I even spoke to a couple of them, and one gentleman said he's coming with his son so he can see the indigenous people. And I'm
Mm,
like, you're indigenous, you know? So
exactly.
I'm not quite sure how they look at themselves. I don't know if they know they're indigenous, but they don't view themselves as practicing indigenous people, or do they lean more towards their African roots? I hope
It
he could
varies.
speak.
It varies. Some of
It
them,
varies, right?
yeah, some of them, know that they're indigenous. Others are more lean more towards um, the African
Yeah, I
culture.
understand that. You can see from the attitudes and uh, being a little hesitant to participate. You know,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. There's some who definitely know, but there's others who, don't even know the indigenous aspect.
yeah, that's the
Yeah,
downside part of it, and especially that they speak the original
they speak
language
the original
of the
language. Yeah.
Taino people. I went to a program in the 90s at the Indian Museum, and a Taino brother brought them there because he traveled to their land and discovered that they spoke the original language. And one Taino sister, oh my God, she was very, very upset. She was very upset because she has a little issues of racism going on.
Mm,
Uh, and she looked at me like, I know, they speak it. I know. And I'm like, but we're all the same people. Why are you getting upset? I mean, they came to
mm.
share their culture, to educate you, and your mind won't accept that they speak your original language. It was,
That's what it is.
uh, as Strong Bear Woman said, it was very interesting. It was very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I had one coworker of mine. She was Garifuna, and she didn't even know. that the Garifuna originally came from Saint Vincent, which is my mother's island. She didn't even know that. She thought that. As a matter of fact, she thought Saint Vincent or Firebird. Are you still there? It looks like you froze. Strong Bear, are you still there? Am I the only
Yeah,
one?
I'm here.
Oh,
She
okay. I think
froze.
Firebird froze up.
She froze.
Um,
Here she come.
yeah.
She froze.
But I
I'm
was
just.
saying,
You were talking
yeah,
about your mother people. Yeah.
yeah. And my coworker, she she didn't know that Saint Vincent was in the Caribbean. She thought Saint Vincent was in Africa.
You
You
kidding
know,
me?
I kid you not. I said no. Saint Vincent is in the Caribbean.
More the Eastern, but you know what I had read about over on that side, Saint Vincent, and what's the other one
Saint
where
Vincent and the
the
Grenadines.
I don't want to say the Caribs, but the Colonial people were there, and it was like 200 years that they fought the British, and the
That's in
British
Saint
finally,
Vincent.
huh?
That's in
It
Saint
wasn't.
Vincent.
That was at Saint
Yeah.
Vincent. I thought it
Hmm.
was another. Well, it's still the
St.
same
Vincent's
area.
Grenadine.
It was in Saint Vincent and the Grenadines.
That's it. It's in the Grenadine.
Hmm.
It's in the Grenadine. Yeah, Eastern
Yes. Well,
Carolina.
Saint Vincent and the
Shakira.
Grenadines. Saint Vincent is the bigger island, and you have the smaller chain, the Grenadines. Yeah,
St.
but they were in
Lucia.
Saint. Yeah, they were in Saint Vincent. Where those that war.
It was another one. It wasn't St. Vincent. It was another one, and they said that they fought for like 200 years. But we don't really talk about
That was that was that was yeah that was Saint Vincent.
that was St. Vincent. But we don't really
That was on
talk
my
about,
mother's
we talk
island.
about the Taínos, but we don't talk about the Colonado. I don't want to say the Caribs because they don't even want to be referred to that. We don't talk about them.
Hmm.
They have a
Yeah,
reservation in
that's where all the stuff went down with Chatoyer and the
Speak up a little bit.
Garifunas who was
I
fighting.
can't.
I said that's where all that stuff, the fighting went down with Chatoyer, who was the chief, and all of that. That's where all of that was going down in Saint Vincent.
Oh yeah, I've heard of him. I didn't know that's how
Yeah,
you pronounce his name, but I know who
he
you're
was the
talking
chief.
about.
Yeah, he was the chief. Yeah,
Yeah. It was one. Was it he? But he was no. But he's after Anacawana, right? Anacawana,
Anacaona. That was a different island altogether. That was
like
in
the
Haiti.
Dominican Republic in Haiti.
Yeah.
Yes, interesting. I tell you, it's very
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah.
But we got to get some of them on the show if we
Oh
could
yeah.
possibly, because I would like to hear from them. Everybody talks about the Taino. No one speaks on them.
I was telling her Firebird. I was saying before when you went off. I was saying that one of my coworkers, who was Garifuna, she didn't even know that Saint Vincent. She didn't even know that Saint Vincent was in the Caribbean. She thought that Saint Vincent was in Africa, and she was Garifuna. You're muted, Firebird. You're muted,
I said,
Firebird.
okay. So much misinformation. I can understand that she might think that.
Yeah. So that's why you have a lot of them who, think they're not indigenous because, some of them think that St. Vincent, was in
Somebody said
Africa.
hi, Fierce. Somebody said
Hey, little
hi.
buddy, how you doing?
Say bye. He's waving.
Yeah.
Hey,
Say hey. He said
Hey
hey.
there.
You have somebody named Kiera. Peace to all.
Yeah, I put it up. Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
you were saying that
but
you plan to bring some Garifuna on a show. That would be nice.
I've been trying to get them on for the longest, but they keep perpetrating a fraud. They keep
I
fronting.
don't know what that's about. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they keep fronting on a brother. Yeah. But I was saying, I mentioned that story just to say how, they a lot of them gravitate, towards Africa because they don't know the history, you know. And a lot of their history is not even their oral history, it's history that they've gotten from the colonizers, you know. Yeah, so you got your little buddy there. Yeah, so anyway, uh yeah, so a lot of their history, this it's not like it's oral history, they've been miseducated, just like a lot of even people in among a lot of the tribes here on the East Coast. A lot of their history is, you know, coming from outside sources, just due to the Holocaust that happened here, you know. So, we just have to start telling our own stories and digging a lot deeper, you know. And
Definitely.
yeah, and so we're gonna close out soon because it's getting late. But Firebird, did you want to you and Strong Bear want to talk a little bit about any updates regarding the parade before we
I'll let her
before
speak this time.
Oh, well, bless your heart.
oh, okay.
Well, it's almost upon us. We got approximately a month to go. Uh, we're scheduled for Saturday, October the 14th, 2023, in Madison Square Park, which is located between 5th and Madison Avenues and 26th Street. That's where we're going to be lining up.
Are
And
you there?
yeah,
Tell them they can find video on YouTube, the Indigenous Peoples of the Americas Parade on
yes,
YouTube.
yes.
And we'll update our videos for this year's um, effort with more pictures and more interviews, not just walking this time.
Yeah, we're looking for, everyone, to come out. It's going to be a beautiful day of fellowship. Um, and we're just looking for everyone to come out that possibly can. I've invited different people on my job, and some of them said that they were going to make it. They were going to come in, and my friends are coming to support me, and some elders I know are coming to support me.
That's awesome. Could you repeat the exact name of the parade, the date, and where it will be, and when it will end, and
It's
our emails?
Indigenous Peoples Parade of the Americas. It's scheduled to be held Saturday, October 14th, 2023. It's really from 12 to 3. That's when we march. But we're going to start the program at 9 a.m. We'll start up.
Lineup starts at 8 a.m.
Well, that's the lineup.
Well, that's for people who want to come.
Yeah, the lineup is 8. The lineup is 8 a.m. The program is scheduled to start at 9, between 9 and 12. 12 o'clock, we're on point. We have to start walking. So we'll be walking nine blocks down to 17th Street. I think it's
Broadway.
in Broadway, yeah. Right up from the park there. Right
We'll
up,
start. We'll start at Madison Square Park East.
yeah, 26th Street between Madison and 5th.
Madison Square Park on East 26th Street.
6th Street,
By train, that's the Q train.
Yes, the Q and R.
The Q and the R. Would you know the buses?
The two. Let me see. The two. If you're coming from uptown, the two bus, the 2 and the 3, and the one bus will put you off on Fifth Avenue, and you could just walk one block east. If you're coming from uptown, if you're coming from farther downtown, you could take. I believe you could take the two. You could take the 2 and the 3 and the 1, and I think it's gonna turn over. That one I'm not exactly sure, but that will put you off near too. And you can also catch the 6. Well, I guess you could catch the 6 train and get off at 23rd Street on the east side, and you can walk up. That'll put you off, I believe, at Park Avenue, and you can walk west a block or two, and that will lead you there. All you have to do is look for others that look like you.
Oh, they won't. It will be a diversity of indigenous people, phenotypes, the works. That's what the theme of the parade is: the indigenous peoples of the Americas.
Yeah.
Not just one phenotype.
Yeah,
Not just
No, we
nickel
want to.
looking Indians, but all different types.
Yeah, our objective is to
And
bring everyone together.
yes, once again, the Indigenous Peoples of the Americas Parade, October 14th, starting at Madison Square Park, East 26th Street, from 12 to 3, ending at East 17th Street and Broadway. We will have a ceremony at 9 o'clock and guests to speak, and be a lot of networking and enjoying each other. We'll have registration for people that want to march respectfully with us and network and rejoice. Our emails are Firebird Graywolf at yahoo.com.
And I'm
Strongbear Woman
88.
88 at gmail.com. TP Longhouse at gmail.com. And we're going to ask Feerce Truth-Seeker if he can put that information of emails in the chat.
You want to say it again? Give me yours.
The Indigenous Peoples of the Americas Parade. You can contact us at Firebird Graywolf at yahoo.com. Strongbear Woman 88 at gmail.com. TP Longhouse at gmail.
Give me Strong Bears again.
Strongbear Woman 88 at gmail.com.
Okay, got it.
And let's fellowship and appreciate each other. Bring your hand drums and rattles, your voices. If you have a boom box that plays indigenous music, bring that too. Let's bring on the noise. Drummers are very expensive. We're working on that for next year. But we'll have enough noise, positive, beautiful, indigenous chants and beats as we march. Some boom boxes. Hopefully, someone is coming with their Jeep and blast music for us We'll have hand drumming. We'll have flags this year representing different tribes that are coming uh, with their tribal members. We have the Uncle Chunk Puspatuk Nation bringing their children to dance in their full regalia, full clothing in their different categories from the Puspatuk Reservation of Long Island. We have Montauk, we have Shinnecock, we have Matinecock, we have Cherokee, we have Cherokee Lenape, we have Aztec, we have Pueblo, we have Navajo, we have Apache, we have Guatemala natives coming. We have a diversity of indigenous people, and we're going to have a great time together. Love, hugs, and blessings. Hopefully, this year I can do seven direction prayer to bless us before we start to march. We have the Aztecs coming from Mexico, the Tainos coming from the Caribbean. It's going to be awesome. We can't get rid of Christopher Columbus Parade. That's a federal protected parade. They made sure they got that statue and parade protected, but we can show our beauty, our love for each other, and send those positive, high vibrational energy into the airways to honor our ancestors, to teach our descendants, our children, of how beautiful we are. So come on out and join us. There'll be registration at the table there. Strong Bear Woman is bringing the registrations. We're asking no one wear fake headdresses, war bonnets, or anything that would offend anybody in the parade because it's disrespectful and it's not true history. And those war bonnets, people laid down their lives and died wearing those war bonnets. And people are unfortunately buying things like that off of Amazon, Party City, and they might think it's acceptable, but it's really not. So a nice
Yeah.
little headband, a nice little bandana, a nice little feather in your hair,
Or cap
and
like this, native pride.
it's native pride, yes. Or just bring yourself. Just honor your ancestors. If you're an ally, we welcome all allies as well. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for allies. We would all been wiped out,
But nothing,
So
nothing with nothing with any mascots, or anything like
no,
that.
no mascots, no bozo looking war paint, nothing like that. It's not acceptable. No regalia costumes
Mm-mm.
and fake war bonnets. No disrespect to anyone, but it can be very disturbing to for tribes to see this behavior and not acceptable. So everyone will be checked. Otherwise, thank you so much, Fierce Strong Bear Woman, for inviting me once again as co-host. I'll be doing more shows with my TV show, you know, uh, Native Voices Turtle Island TV on YouTube. I'll be dealing with different phenotypes of Indians, their histories, their lives. Hopefully, the first show will be in November for officially Native American Month. I'm going to plan a couple of shows, maybe four shows, maybe one for each week of the 4 weeks of November. And I invite my co-host, Feerce Truth-Seeker, Strong Bear Woman, to come on and spit some history join me in interviewing people and hearing their history and stories. So we planned for that for November. Do you have anything planned for November, Native American Month? Last year we honored the women, the
Yeah,
indigenous women. That was powerful.
yeah, we'll have a series of shows, probably doing each week, honoring Native American History Month. With the history that has to do with
Did you
that
tell the
theme.
audience about your book
Yes, I did. I didn't on this show, but yeah, the book is
for the
coming.
new people on the show today? That your
Yes,
book is coming out soon.
the book will be published soon. I'm hoping to have the book ready by the end of the month or the beginning of next month. So be on the lookout for that. Finally, it's 30 years in the making, and
Yeah, we went through that together.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure. You know,
I'm
oh
so
yeah,
proud of you. Very proud of you that it's finally here. And
finally,
after this first one, many more will flow uh, more often than 30 years in the
yeah,
making.
yeah,
You'll keep popping them out, and
yeah, yeah,
offering classes of study and teaching.
yeah. But what I wanted to do, I wanted to offer quality rather than quantity. That's why it took so
That's
long.
right.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So yeah, it's I'm excited about it.
Yeah, you had 30 years of stuff to tell. That's you got you're a walking encyclopedia.
Thank you. I don't like to toot my own horn.
I'll toot
I'm
it for
I'm
you.
a, I am a I'm a master student.
Well,
Master
I
student.
cannot wait. Could you tell your new audience the title, or that's secret right now?
Yeah, I'm gonna wait until it's published because you know how that goes.
Yeah, I know how it goes, but it's
Before
coming.
you know it, somebody else will have a
Yeah,
book out with
right.
the same title.
They took 30 seconds to write it.
Yeah, yeah. But I'll say, it has to do with our history here in, as the original peoples of the land. Yeah.
Strong Bear Woman, you have anything to say?
Yes, I do. I'm just grateful that Fierce invited me to be on the show. I'm
Oh, you're
looking
quite welcome.
forward. I'm looking forward to our parade. I really am, because I went last year and it was such a beautiful experience. I
Mm,
mean, I haven't been to something that nice in years, a long, long, long time, and
mm,
it turned out so well. And I'm expecting this one to turn out even better. So
mm,
I'm just grateful that I'm working with Clan's mother here, Firebird, and I'm learning a lot. Is on the job training. I've never done anything like this before. I've never done community kind of stuff like this before, and I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot, and it's more so ties into, I believe, is my purpose. A lot of times we go to work, we're working because we need to pay the bills and everything, but that's not your life purpose. So I've always been a person that was interested in history and culture and of different people. So this is right up my alley. And I'm just looking forward to October the 14th. And we only have like a month basically today. Tomorrow's the 11th. And we only got like 4 weeks left. 4 or 5 weeks, depending on how the calendar runs.
man. Woo-hoo-hoo. That
Coming
time
down
is
coming
rolling.
down pike. is coming down the pike.
Man,
It'll
that
be
was
here
quick.
right before you know it.
Mm.
So
Wow.
I mean, as I get closer, I get more excited. You know what I mean? I get more
Mhm.
excited as the closer we get to the actual date.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
especially see that you put so much labor into it. The labor of love that you put in, then you can see the fruition of
So the
your
fruits of your labor. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Hmm.
the nice thing about it. And I'm really looking forward to meeting people, and it's good to see people from different, tribes. Because some of these people I'm not really all that familiar with myself. People that were there, it was different people that were there, and I'm not really familiar, with because I know the Lenapes up in New Jersey. I know that we went to a reservation. This was a number of years ago down on exit 5 on the New Jersey Turnpike. They were Lenapes too.
Well,
I,
we're pretty spread out.
I see.
Hmm.
I see. And we owe a great debt. They don't really talk about them. And we owe a great debt of gratitude towards them because we live in New York and this is their land. Even though we might have came from, like, my family came out of Virginia, North Carolina and stuff, but this is their land. And we have to give honor and respect to them, for
And
being
people
alive.
don't know that certain groups of Cherokees ran up to New Jersey, New York, and the Lenape took us in,
Oh,
and
really?
we
I
and
didn't
we
know
enter
that.
we intermarried.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Now I know a lot of the Cherokees. I know like 500 of them. They shipped them out there to the West Indies. I know that
They
they
took
shipped
them
them.
down to the West Indies as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, they shipped them
Hmm.
out. So it's we've been everywhere.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, but a lot of people will say, "Oh, that's fake history." No, after the Trail of Tears, we flew our behinds up to New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and our cousins, the Lenape, they took us in, and we intermarried, and here I am, Tuscarora, and a few others, but here I am. So
Yeah,
it's deep history.
Oh yeah.
and that's our history.
Very
We're
deep.
known for taking in people. We're
So
known for
this
taking people.
parade
Yeah,
this parade is very important because it's a teaching tool as well. It's a visual. You
yes,
know, how many people walking on the streets that day was taught false history, and they only know one type of Indian or one phenotype of Indian, and
Yeah.
the Board of Education is still guilty of that.
Oh yeah. Big time. Big
You
time. Very
know,
good.
it's still guilty. So by us having events like this, it visually and educationally teaches uh, deeper history and deeper facts.
Hmm.
So
I
that's
Hmm.
why it meant so much for me to put it together.
I also believe
Yeah.
that it was divinely inspired.
Oh yes,
I always believe
the
Yeah.
that
creator did whisper in my
divinely
ear.
inspired.
He whispered in my ear, and I listened.
Hmm.
After 20 plus years, I never gave up. Right, Feerce?
You sure didn't. Been talking about that for years,
Yep,
decades,
yep.
decades.
I don't know if the word was driven or created deemed it to be.
Hmm. Yeah.
And a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people, oh, just a parade. No, it's not just a parade. It means something, you know.
Hmm.
It's sending a message. It's connecting different people together that would never be together. You know, they say Indigenous Peoples Day. That's one day, but we're Indigenous important people every day.
Every
So why
day.
not a parade?
Hmm.
You know.
Exactly.
So I thank you both. I know, Fierce, you want to wrap it up now, and
Yeah, we'll do a part two this week. We'll do a
okay.
part two to this.
It was a
So
good
this.
show. We got a lot of history out. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people that were homeless. Uh, a lot of them tribally. When I say homeless, I mean a lot of their land was taken away, and it's been returned to them by the very people that caused them to lose their land. Good spirits returned the land to them, you know, and demanded that they get this land back. And
Mm-hmm.
they're doing the Nanacoats and the Ramapos are going to be doing great things on the land. As a matter of fact, Split Rock area up there where they pray and everything, the
Mm-hmm.
city would not let the Ramapo pray on their own land.
Right. I remember
They
that.
only wanted at least two people at a time praying on their own land.
On their own land. Yeah.
And they had
Mm-hmm.
to go to court and everything. And, you know, that wasn't even considered to the whites there to be sacred land. But it
Right.
is. That's where they pray. That's your church. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and you don't have a right to worship in the way you want to worship because people feel you're interfering with their space. And look, it's been returned to them. You know, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the land has been returned
Yeah.
by the mercy of a minister. He's a descendant of the family that had the almost 300-year deed. And I guess the creator spoke to him and he did the right thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's all beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's we're gonna close out now, and we will have a part two of this discussion. And I definitely thank you Firebird and also Strong Bear Woman for joining in on the discussion. And yeah, it was fun.
I like to touch upon on one of your shows environmental and Native American science
Yes,
because we're
please.
all metaphysicians.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to see something like that discussed on your show as well as mine
Sure.
because Mother Earth is in great trouble. Um, the fires popping up, and you heard
Mm-hmm.
about Maui and uh, forest fires and flooding, and
Morocco, the earthquake in Morocco.
yes, in Morocco. And I think they said there was one in Yonkers a few weeks ago.
What
Uh,
happened in Yonkers?
I believe they said something about trimmers.
Really?
Yeah, so
Mm.
it's life is more than powwowing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we need to talk about or debates of $50,000. We need to talk about. I know you would like that one. We need to talk about Mother Earth issues.
I
What
told you,
we
give me $50,000. I'll murk Jabari.
You could talk right? Also,
I
the water
I
is,
tell you to go for it.
also the water is very polluted, and the animals are in distress. The animals are in distress. The waters
Mm-hmm.
are very polluted. They're being choked. The sharks, the fish, the dolphins, the whales. They're swallowing plastics.
Yeah.
It's a
And let me
lot of
tell you something. My dog is a funny animal. A lot of times he won't eat scraps of chicken I give him. He
Mm.
smells it and he walks away. But let me eat a peanut
Mm.
butter sandwich, and he's running over to get the peanut butter.
well, dogs like
So
Wow.
butter.
So what does
Like
he know
butter.
about the chicken? You know, it makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably like
Yeah,
MSG.
yeah, he
Oh
won't.
no.
He'll walk away.
Oh,
So
it's
when I
gonna be
see
good.
him not wanting the
Oh,
chicken, when I see him not wanting the chicken, I leave that chicken alone as well.
there you go. MSG. Oh,
Something's going on in our
let
GMO or whatever it is.
me go. I will sign out now. And it was a blast. Okay. And until the next time, Doda Daga Ha'i.
Donna da kahani asta sana
Donna Da.
Dona Da.